Welcome to the Football Retro Podcast.
The word welcome, I guess, is stretching it a little when you're an Australian in a place like this today.
Hello and welcome to episode 15 of the Football Retro Podcast. I am your host Johnny and I'm joined today by Fatty and Akram. How you going, guys?
Yeah, mate, good. We had a nice break, eh? Would you take like a week off or so?
Yeah, we're back.
We're back.
Nice break. You make it out like we were away for 3 months. It was just one segment we were away.
How are you, mate? You doing all right, Fatty?
Yeah, I'm fine.
Seem a little cranky, mate.
I'm fine. No, that's all right. I'm good. I'm come down this week. I was just too much agitation happening.
What's going on? You unhappy about the election results, man? I thought you'd be dancing in the street, mate.
People are talking too much shit, so it's just too much.
Oh, yeah.
I'm over that. I'm glad it's done. I don't have to talk about it.
Are you
anymore.
over the red and the blue map and the
red and the blue map?
And the two old white men fighting it out?
Two 75-year-olds fighting for the position of most powerful man in the world.
Mate, come on, that's not fair. Biden's 78.
78. He's one step away from his grave. That guy.
So
on to more important topics, football.
Well, we had a bit of a discussion before we started recording. We've been here for 2 hours now?
Was it 2 hours?
Sorry, guys. Yeah, I know. Fatty just talks so much, mate. Come on.
Fatty's anger levels get to rise.
I wasn't actually angry. I was just having some firm, heated discussions. That's all. I wouldn't call that anger.
Were you heated, man? I wasn't heated. Were you heated?
I was fine.
I'm only heated when your punctuation comes in. Too many full stops, this guy. I don't think you understand today's day and age.
Everything must be translated through the internet age.
A full stop is aggressive.
Oh.
So wait, these are the unspoken WhatsApp rules, is that right?
Well, I'm going to throw it out there if anyone's going to correct me on this, but I'm fairly certain if I ask a question and you say okay, or say okay with a full stop, it's a bit more
aggressive.
Yeah, anger behind it with a full stop.
Exclamation mark okay though?
You've been that'll show that you're excited, so
So all of you guys talking WhatsApp.
Don't use grammar, guys.
101.
no grammar. No full stops.
Don't even worry about spelling very well.
Yeah, it's fine.
It's all good, guys.
Keep it simple.
Fair enough.
Anyway, the topic, Johnny. The topic, man. We're talking enough shit for now, man.
Wait, speaking of recent events and the election and stuff, I was looking at the tables of the different European leagues. It's good to see a few different names up there.
Yeah, I mean, 100%. Like this season, I mean, we've said it in the last couple of podcasts. This season's already, really exciting and unpredictable. A lot of that has to do with the situation around COVID and all that. I think we mentioned that in the last podcast. So it's really exciting to see. I'm really interested to see where we're going to go.
I agree. It's definitely refreshing to see a lot of the smaller clubs. I mean, it's still early in seasons, obviously. So it's not really something that you could count on and say, yep, they're making a title charge or anything like that. But it's definitely refreshing to see that. A bit more unexpected. I mean, we've had a lot of unexpected this year, but it's a little more unexpected, keeps uncertainty and keeping the bigger boys on their toes.
I mean, at this point when we record this, Southampton's top of the Premier League.
Wow, and who would have thought that, prior to the season beginning?
Funny you say that because Southampton was the first team to break Everton's unbeaten streak.
Mm-hmm. Really? What was the score?
2-0. They beat them 2-0. Bit of a shock. Oh, actually, sorry. They drew. They drew the Merseyside derby.
Oh yeah.
With Liverpool, but then they lost to Southampton, and then from there they've lost another 2 games. So they've drawn one in the last 4 games. They've got 1 point.
Wow. So that tells me that. Do you reckon that as the season gets going a lot more when we get into January and the deeper months, that the big clubs will start to push it back into the top, or do you think that some of these results in some of these leagues will stay?
No, I think it sort of pans out a bit later. Generally, from my experience of what I've watched in a lot of the Premier League, a lot of the bigger clubs may have slower starts, or a lot of the smaller clubs will start off quicker, but they don't have that longevity. The bigger clubs know how to close out a season. You know how to grind out results when it's important, especially when you're, mixing it up with cup competitions, European competitions, things like that. They're more experienced, they're more hardy in terms of knowing how to to do that, and they have bigger squads to be able to manage that. The smaller clubs, they'll start off great.
Yeah, true.
But then they'll start to tail off, around the Christmas fixture times, especially in the Premier League because they never had a Christmas break.
Yeah.
Those clubs will start to fall off when they're playing 3-4 games a week.
Mm-hmm.
They start to struggle. injury management and things like that.
And it's like you said about the big clubs, they're going to have bigger squads. Plus with this, is it true? Is it the same in the Premier League as other leagues? You have 5 substitutions now instead of 3.
Yes, that's internationally.
That's international, right?
Yeah.
So then it's like that's going to be a big advantage for some of these big clubs.
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, right now, Real Sociedad is second in La Liga.
Yeah, Sociedad, man, he's been real. I wouldn't say surprised. Or last season, I think they came 4th. So I wouldn't exactly say surprised, but at the very least, they are. I am surprised by how unpredictable both Barcelona and Real Madrid have been at the beginning of this season. And, as we know, Sociedad doesn't have Martin Odegaard anymore. He's moved on to Real Madrid. So I guess it's been a nice change of pace to see. I would love to see them go further and try to make a run at the La Liga, truth be told. I think, what's his name? Yahabal?
I don't know.
I don't know. I don't know, the right winger for Real Sociedad.
Describe him. What does he look like?
Go take a bow or something.
What does he look like?
I don't know. He's Spanish-looking guy.
Fuck,
dark
that's
brown hair.
racist.
That's racist.
I'll set you up there.
I know you were setting me
you
up.
walk straight into it.
Spanish-looking guy. What does that mean? Like,
Well, I mean, I don't know.
it's 2020. You can't say
You
that.
tell me, mate. You're the one that speaks Spanish. I don't know.
You can't say it's 2020, mate. You can't say that.
I apologise to all our Spanish-speaking people out there. I didn't mean to overgeneralise.
What about Serie A?
Serie A, man. So Serie A, fatty man, Atalanta, AC Milan, they've been killing it in Serie A.
You can't forget about Sassuolo coming second, right?
No, I know. Can you believe it? And I mean, Domenico Berardi, an Italian-looking guy, he's doing really well over there as well. He's really coming into his own. AC Milan, honestly, I've been a bit disappointed with some of the players AC Milan have, but they've been saved time and again by the one and only Johnny.
The king.
Who's
God.
the 39-year-old
Yeah,
lion.
Zlatan.
Or as one of my mates calls him, Zlatan.
Why is that?
Well, he just says A is the first letter of the alphabet, so he says Zlatan.
Okay. I mean, I'm not going to argue with that kind of logic. But anyway, moving on. He's 39 years old and he's been performing.
How do you think he still does it? Do you think it's the fact that he just has that total belief in himself? He talks himself up so much, he thinks he's that good that it just carries him.
You know what? I have
through
to think
through those last 5-6 years.
Look, that's part of it, but he's a smart player as well.
Okay,
But the goals he scores is in the right place at the right time.
But with that, he's saying obviously there's
that.
talent and intelligence. But for a striker at 39 years old, the confidence must be supreme there.
Yep, that's
well, goals brings confidence as well. And he keeps
And
doing
confidence
that.
brings goals,
Yeah.
and on it goes.
So who would you like? Here's a tricky question. Not who do you want to win, because you can say Arsenal for the Premier League.
Yeah.
But which team would you like to see win the La Liga, Serie A, Premier League?
Honestly, regardless of my fandom for any clubs, I'd just love to see all of them win different leagues. Let's burn it all down. Let's Everton win Premier League. Let's Sassuolo win Serie A. How much fun would that be?
You know who I'd speak for the Premier League. I would like to see Newcastle win the Premier League.
There's no chance.
Well,
He just dismisses your point of view. So
I know
much,
there's no
mate.
chance,
So I'm
but
so
you
sorry, mate.
just asked me what I'd like.
Yeah, I know. You asked him what
Aside
he would
from
like
my
to see.
team.
What would he like to see?
said Newcastle.
And you just dismiss it right there.
I've always had a soft spot for Newcastle.
I think a lot of Premier League neutral, like Premier League fans, they look at them as a neutral club.
Yeah,
There, because
big club in the north of England. There, always got a good backing.
you guys
fan
might know.
base.
You guys might know more than me, but I find their fans are fairly inoffensive and just really good. I've never had bad interactions with Newcastle fans.
You haven't personally, or
personally, online and
How
online.
many interactions have you had with Newcastle fans?
I mean, not a great deal, but we all know we have our Liverpool fans who are very aggressive. We have Real Madrid.
No,
and I mean online, a lot of fans and when they discuss football topics, Newcastle fans are used to be usually pretty good guys.
Look, no offense. Actually, yes, offense intended.
Oh,
Liverpool fans are the worst. They're a different breed.
Yeah,
I can't stand them.
I agree.
It's just too much. They just need to shut the fuck up. Sorry.
You
That's
heard-
my swear for
all
tonight.
right.
Plus, Newcastle have Santiago Munoz.
For Liverpool fans out
Do you
there,
know who that is?
yeah, Santiago Munez.
Yeah. Goal. Goal.
I like number 2.
What a
Living
movie.
the dream.
What a
Living the
movie.
dream.
All right, so I agree. I would like to see Everton.
Apparently
For,
that-
La Liga, I wouldn't mind seeing Atletico win it. Simeone.
Sorry?
Again?
I wouldn't mind Simeone.
You're
take it.
already
your
done it.
Atletico Madrid thing.
I feel bad for Simeone. He needs to win. He deserves to win something.
Why?
He
You
should
love
leave
it.
because that Champions League final, the Ramos squad in 93.
He's had multiple. he's had multiple opportunities to leave and go to a bigger club with more money, man. Like, you know, when Conte gets fired, as he always does, let him go to Inter and do well over there.
Let someone like Granada win it. What about
They're coming fifth.
What about Osasuna, Aloisi's old club?
Yeah, like, you know, like honestly,
There you
whoever.
go.
I would
The
just
Aussie
like to see.
connection.
Oh yeah, I would love to just see small clubs do better.
Villarreal. I like Villarreal.
Or Valencia
Or
to win it.
Valencia.
But is it not a case of like be careful what you wish for? Because could you imagine some of these small clubs? It's like you said, Fatty, the other week when Leicester won, all the big clubs go, okay, no more mucking around. Let's spend.
Imagine if someone like Villarreal ends up winning La Liga. What Real Madrid?
Yeah,
would do.
yeah, they're going to get Mbappe, Haaland, and De Bruyne in one
They'll
go.
go, they'll go buy.
They're gonna
half their
freak out,
team.
yeah,
They'll
100%.
go buy their team out and say fuck you.
Valencia's coming
It's too-
15th now.
Mate, Valencia, unfortunately, they're in a really bad way. Darcy mentioned it last week, or not last week, but last
podcast,
episode. That they're financially struggling. The results on the field. I don't see them lasting too much longer as a club in the top flight of La Liga football.
Wow, really?
Yeah, like it's really, really sad to see. As we all know, like Valencia was a great club that we all kind of appreciated. You know, Johnny, you have your Argentina connections over there. Me and Fatty just appreciate smaller clubs who do really well. It's just sad to see that they're not going to return to that glory.
Yeah, it's sad, man. Valencia, especially early 2000s.
Yeah.
Used to watch a lot of them in the Champions
Yeah.
League. They were always prevalent. You know,
Gaizka Mendieta.
away games at the Mestalla in
Yeah.
the Champions League. There was always an aura about it. The Champions League anthem at the Mestalla. It was always a bit misty
Yeah,
before kickoffs. There's just something about it. I
fantastic
loved it.
players, Pablo Aimar,
Yeah,
Gaizka
absolutely,
Mendieta.
absolutely.
Which club is it that Ronaldo owns? Fat Ronaldo.
Valladolid.
Oh, Real Valladolid.
Yeah,
They're coming last.
Didn't know he owned them.
Yeah, yeah.
I don't know if
Does
it's a
Does he have a
shareholder
part- oh, it's a
or.
part ownership, okay.
I don't know, like it's a pretty big.
it's majority owner.
Yeah,
So
majority
it's
owner.
not like Beckham at Inter Miami. He created the whole club.
It's a majority holder, but.
Yeah, he is majority owner, but
Okay.
but regardless, yeah. So unfortunately, they're coming last, but I'm sure they'll make their way around somehow.
Speaking of smaller clubs,
Maybe he comes on and scores.
would have put it past him.
Yeah.
Speaking of smaller clubs, we had a milestone about 10 days ago now. That was Diego Maradona's 60th birthday.
Oh yeah.
I didn't know.
He
I didn't know. I didn't see Football Retro talking about it all week.
Had the countdown every
Yeah.
the Maradona week. So yeah, he turned 60, and the day after he turned 60, he went to hospital.
Yeah.
So he got brain surgery now. He got all
What?
cleared.
I didn't see that story.
Yeah, so he's apparently a lot of problems with alcohol now.
That's not a surprise, really.
It's an
Like, is anyone
addictive
surprised?
personality.
Addictive personality.
If it's
Is-
not one thing, it's the
But
other.
is that
But yeah,
what
it's
they-
having health issues.
Is that what they're
right?
saying? It's just alcohol, or is it more than that? I mean, we all know the stories around Maradona, but
No, there was no cocaine, no any of that. It's more a bit. It
I
was
didn't say
more.
cocaine. But
It was more sleeping pills than those medications mixed
Yeah.
with a lot of alcohol constantly. So the whole story is that the people around him, his mates, lawyers, whoever his internal group is, are just sucking him blood like for money, for just fame.
wow.
So they're not taking care of him. His daughters have come out and said exactly this as well.
you said that last time, Johnny. I remember
Yeah.
we were talking around 2014 World Cup, and those images of him.
18
No, when were the images of him where he was
against Nigeria.
Oh, was it there?
Yeah.
Why did I think it was 2014?
Oh,
That was
Anyway.
when Rojo scored in the last 2 minutes.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, and then you were telling me, you said, yeah, like a lot of bad people around him, and people just sort of take advantage of him and that, and it makes sense because if you're Maradona, who would have your best interest at heart now? Everyone wants to jump on your coattails of success, pretty much, right? You're Maradona. Everywhere you are, there's going to be someone talking about you, or there's got to be something there, right? There's media attention. There's always something. Even though he's not playing, but he's still that kind of personality. So people want to, leech off that,
100%.
which is
Yeah, of
sad.
course.
So who
But,
do you trust?
Look, it's sad as a person. In the last maybe 5 to 6 years, him as a person, you see his speech, you see him. He can't complete a full interview. He can't talk. He can't make sense of what's going on around him. There was obviously very strong signs that everything's not okay.
Yeah.
But him as a figure in the last 60 years or 50 years, it's no one comes close.
Yeah, he's undisputedly the most well-known football name in history. Any non-football person, if you ask them, they will say Maradona. That's just how it is.
Yeah, I mean, like he's the GOAT. As far as I'm concerned, he's the greatest of all time. And like, just some of the stories and some of the things we've heard about Maradona's career, it's just an unbelievable amount of achievements that he made. Sometimes it's not even just about the achievements, but like just the stories, just the circumstances around his club career, his national team career. I mean, like, I don't think anyone comes close to matching some of those achievements.
When I say GOAT, two players come to mind: Maradona and Messi.
Okay.
Can you completely remove Pele from the equation? Would you put Pele in the top 3?
I would have to.
Top 5.
Who's ahead of him?
So who would you put?
Who would you put third? No, but you said 5 now, so there's obviously another 2 there. Who are the other 2 then? Okay, rank them. Give me the other 2.
I really like Cruyff.
Yeah.
I really like Cruyff. I really like Zidane personally.
Yeah.
That's massive. You know why? Well, Messi aside, obviously Messi's a current player, but out of those 5, 3 are probably before our time in terms of footballing, and then Zidane, which is well within our era. Very recent. Look, which says a lot about him.
For me, I would have to think about Di Stefano. I think it's hard to put him past at least in the top 5. Mm-hmm. Just from a pure like achievement collection, and for the how instrumental he was in building the European Cup competition.
So would you put him third?
I mean, look, honestly, I don't think that you can rank the greatest of all time if you are going to put like players. But I would put probably Maradona as number 1. And then the rest of the 4, I would put Cruyff, Di Stefano, Pele, and then I toss up between Messi and Zidane. I tend to put Messi because of the longevity of his career and achievements.
Only because of that. Nothing to do with how fucking amazing he is.
Yeah, but come on, when we're talking about fucking amazing players, everyone's amazing, right? So like, I do think
Messi's a different level.
You can't say everyone's amazing.
Messi's a different level.
Everyone in that top 5 that we just mentioned.
Oh, okay. I think like everyone's amazing. Like everyone gets everyone's participation.
The participation.
They're all amazing.
Come on, man. No,
everybody wins.
I'm like Happy Meal.
We're talking about the top 5, so like it's hard to say. Well, one's amazing, one is less so, right? So I just think about for me, longevity has to play a huge part, and that's why. So I'm inclined to put Messi above Zidane. Cruyff. I don't care about his statistics. I don't care about the achievements. He changed the game.
Yeah, absolutely.
He changed the game. We follow the game now because of what he did to the game. And look, Pele, man, how do you not put him there, Fatty? How do you not put him there?
You have to put him there.
Right?
I just don't like certain aspects of it, but it is what it is. He's got to be up there.
Would you rank him somewhere in the top 5, or do you just? Is it hard to rank anyone when it comes to that level?
No, he'd have to be ahead of Zidane, for example.
Okay, for example, yeah.
Yeah, he'd have to be.
So would he be
Zidane.
like top 3?
Yeah, I'd say he'd be top 3.
Do his World Cups?
What about Ronaldo?
Is that what makes him?
What about Ronaldo? Ronaldo Cristiano hasn't been mentioned at all.
Cristiano Ronaldo.
He's a freak of an athlete, an amazing player.
Yeah.
But to me, he doesn't compare.
Would he make a top 10?
Possibly.
For me, it's possible. I tend to put him maybe anywhere between 8 and 10.
Yeah.
I don't like the fact that so many players that we bring up are always offensive players. So I think personally, I think Maldini has to be in the top 10. Just for that longevity and for the amount of things he's done.
Yeah, that's a good one.
And I'd love to get like him or Franz Beckenbauer in the top 10 or both.
What, just because of defenders or because
just because it's like, I like to think about,
He wants to mix it up a little bit.
Sounds like the quotas that the government give to
So are you saying I'm only putting them there just to be different, like as different players?
Best person for the job.
Look, at the end of the day, I think Maldini and Franz Beckenbauer are probably the 1 and 2 in terms of the greatest defenders of all time.
Okay.
And I think that if you're like the greatest of all time at your position and one of the most important positions in football, in the center of the pitch, in charge of the defense, the way they were, I do believe they should be in the top 10. Now, who you take out, that gets difficult, eh?
So you're going to have to increase it to 15 now. To keep everyone happy.
Well, that wouldn't make everyone happy, though.
If that's the case, you got to throw a goalkeeper in there as well.
Exactly, yeah, 100%. But what's wrong with that? Like, why are we just limited to just talking about offensive players?
No, I agree
right?
with what he's talking about, but that's what people usually judge by because that's what's remembered. No one's going to remember a Buffon in a top 10 greatest of all time.
Mm-hmm.
So I like to put those 2 in. Cristiano Ronaldo, I
How do we
definitely
tail
think
off
he
the
goes.
fucking topic? How do we tail off? How do
You,
we get out?
well, you asked about Cristiano Ronaldo.
No.
No, before that, about Messi and Maradona. That's the GOAT.
Yeah.
So, I mean,
So it was actually you.
No,
No,
me.
it's me.
Yeah.
Oh, it was you, Johnny.
No, I just said when I think of GOAT, I think Maradona and Messi. Them two are the ones competing. That's me.
Yeah, fair enough. Fair enough. I mean, like,
So you seem to disagree, Fatty.
I don't disagree. I just think it's very. I think you're being a little bit one-eyed because I know you've been a stout defender of Messi against the Messi v Maradona thing when people were very harsh on him because of the expectations with the national team and whatnot. So you're giving him that to keep him to put him in that same sort of realm as Maradona. I think he's just a bit under Maradona.
I just haven't seen anyone do what he does on a football pitch.
I agree.
Regardless of the World Cup or not World Cup, on a football pitch what Messi does, I've never seen anyone do anything or even come close to what I've seen him do over the years.
Is that because you've watched him just the last game? How he performed, what he did?
What a dummy. No, like seriously, in the last 10 years.
Oh yeah, absolutely. You can't. Like, even now, recently I was reading somewhere they were talking about, he's getting lazy, or they showed that clip of him walking around.
Yeah.
Or he's past it, or, an aging Messi for Barcelona. Like, what do they want him? And then he comes out and does this. You think, okay, shit.
yeah.
You got to shut your mouth a little bit.
It's crazy, like, how long he's been able to play at his best like this, and some of the things he does week in, week out. He's a goal scorer and he's a creator for Barcelona. Barcelona go where he goes.
Yeah,
really. And I think any team would do that.
Be
no matter what.
interesting to see a Barcelona post Messi.
Yeah, I mean, to be honest, I think you can make the argument that Messi's. I don't want to use the phrase like holding them back, but I think when it comes to squad building, like, it's just so focused on what you do around Messi that it's limited them to develop more players and go further.
But you don't blame them because what else are they going to do?
True.
It's
like a gift and a curse. It's like, well, you have the best player in the world.
Yeah.
You're going to build around him, right? That's just common sense, isn't it?
Yeah, it's
but
a catch
now
22.
What's interesting, because one of the presidential to be elected, he's come out recently and said, if I was to be elected, Messi's contract would need to...
Oh, fuck, I thought you were talking about Biden. I'm
be
thinking, surely it wasn't
renegotiated.
that coherent.
No.
Oh my God.
We need to renegotiate his contract. We can't afford the current contract it's on.
Really?
With COVID and everything that's happened where the club is right now.
So as I understand it, we were talking about if the new president's come in, you reckon, Johnny, there could be a chance he stays. But now that one of these presidential candidates have come out and said, not only he might not stay, but if he does stay, he has to stay for lesser money.
He said, look, we definitely want him. He's a big part of the club.
Yeah.
But we have to renegotiate his
Wow.
contract because we can't afford
So what
to.
is that? Then does that throw into doubt his,
Even
the fact
further,
that he
like-
decided to stay? Like, would he then say, okay, well, now I'm going to
He
leave?
didn't decide to stay. He was forced to stay.
Okay, but you know what I'm saying.
Like, does that change your opinion of it, Johnny? Because the last time on air,
No,
you said that
I
you
don't
reckon
know.
that the president coming back, a new president, might change things. Do you think that he's definitely now gone?
I don't know if money's a big factor, to be honest.
Really?
To Messi.
At this
Yeah, but you
stage.
know what? It's a bit... I feel it's a little disrespectful. Like,
Yeah.
Because then the way his career's going to end is, we're going to cut your money back, and then we're going to phase you out because you're getting old, and that's it. It's done. Like, you're forced to stay here, and we're going to cut your money back.
And
We're done with you, and when you're finished, see you later.
And if you think only about
He doesn't
finances,
go out on the high.
if you think only about finances, you're right. I don't think it's all about money, right? But the money does says more than just how much you make. It says how much you're valued by the team. And when you've had a club who, hasn't been treating you right, who you wanted to leave, and all the controversy surrounding it, you would think that if they really wanted him to come back, they would figure out a way to pay him.
Yep.
After the way they treated him as a club, surely the least they could do would be to give him a raise. To not do that, I think there's no chance he stays if they have to give him a pay
It just
cut.
looks shit. It just doesn't look right.
Might be a way of getting rid of him as well.
Yeah, you mean just to put maybe the pressure on him, going, we want him to stay, but for lesser money.
We try, like, to show the fans, hey, we tried.
You try, yeah. I mean, I don't know how many fans would buy it, but hey, it's better than what the last president did, eh?
But going back to Maradona,
Got off topic again, mate. Got off topic again.
he what he did in Napoli was out of this world.
No, yeah, that's undisputed. Like, you can't compare anything to that. I don't recall or can't think of another player probably bar. No, you know what? No, I can't. I can't
No?
think of another player.
I've never understood
gonna-
why he decided to go to Napoli.
I mean, I don't know. Maybe you could shed. I thought you would be able to shed some light on that. I was going to mention bar someone like Totti, but Totti was at that club for a very long time. Maradona wasn't at Napoli for a very long time, and he moved there when there were nothing.
True, and also like even just to count like trophies, Totti won one trophy, one Serie A.
Yeah,
Maradona won 2, and then won 2 UEFA Cups.
One UEFA Cup.
Oh, was it one? I apologize.
UEFA Cup and the Super Cup.
Yeah, so it's like even that, man.
Did he win 2 or 3 Serie A's?
He could. I think he could have
Okay.
very well won 3.
where's
So
Darcy when you need him?
Darcy, mate, get off the couch, mate. Come over here, far out. But this is the thing, mate. I'll give you like just to put into context, right?
Twice.
Who were the strikers that played for Napoli? Some guy named Giordano and
Cannavale.
Who are they, Fadi?
Cannavara's a defender, played won the 2006 World Cup with Italy.
No, but
Great defender.
Careca was another one. He's Brazilian as well.
Careca,
Yeah.
I know. Yes.
Was well known.
Okay.
Now, look, the story is apparently that Napoli went looking for Maradona before when he was at Boca.
Mm-hmm.
And then obviously he went to Barcelona.
Yeah.
Big money there. So when they came knocking again, Maradona wasn't happy at Barcelona.
No. Yeah, he flamed out and that's one thing people don't talk enough about when you argue for Maradona being number 1 versus Messi or whoever, was the fact that he wasn't successful at Barcelona. Not really. He wasn't happy there. He flamed out a little. And correct me if I'm wrong, but I think part of the reason he went to Napoli was he wanted that small club feel again. He didn't like this, big club with the big money, with the big ridiculous expectations, and with the showiness of how to look professional. He wanted a small town club again.
Yeah.
He's always a defender of the people, and he knew that Napoli were the working class, were the ones that were treated like crap by everyone else in Italy, especially the north of Italy.
So it was more of a match to his personality as to why he went there, as opposed to any like financial incentive.
100%, but you'd always assume that footballing-wise would be a struggle or be more of a battle.
Absolutely.
Going to a place like that.
He's such a weird character in football
He is.
because he did make decisions that went against his own personal ambition. But then again, he was obviously a person that needed a certain environment to thrive. And we've had a number of those kind of players, in football, Fatty, but like he clearly was one that thrived so well, feeling loved, feeling the loyalty, didn't want to deal with the politics of presidents and of the shit that Messi goes through.
Yeah.
He wanted to
that's
go
right.
to a place that loved him.
Well, if you've watched the latest documentary, it talks about him having to create an alter ego. There was a Diego, that was the everyday man, the father, the one that his friends knew.
Mm-hmm.
Then there was Maradona, this press person that became a character, like an external character, that he had to create in order to deal with the pressures around him. Since he was 15, he's had to feed his whole family.
Wow.
Yeah.
Imagine being a
That's
15-year-old,
Yeah.
having the responsibility of feeding your parents, your siblings, everyone.
And
So he's created this alter ego, which is extreme confident, and it's become who he is now.
And I think like the origin there in Argentina, growing up poor, having to feed his family from the age of 15, playing for Boca, I think that really shaped his entire career and his life. I wonder what players how they would have achieved what they achieved if they had similar circumstances. Not to criticize Messi, but he didn't have the same experiences. He didn't have that same pressure.
He actually played at Argentinos Juniors longer than he played at Boca. He was only at Boca for a year and a half.
Oh yeah, fair enough. Yeah.
So he was a youngster coming out of... He actually cried the day that he didn't get selected for the 1978 World Cup.
Wow.
He was only 17. And he was between him and another player. Menotti didn't take him. And he just missed out on the World Cup squad as a 17-year-old.
Wow.
He was when the World Cup was on. He tells the story of him crying over the streets when he wasn't selected and he wanted to make up for it. So the year after, he won the Under-20s World Cup with Argentina.
There you go.
He's definitely a character that is so different than all the other people we know of in football. Pele played with Santos his entire career, but was part of that super juiced up Brazilian side. You can't like what two national teams are different compared to the 1970 Brazil team versus the 1986 Argentinian team, right?
But what do you, like when you're saying that, and I said it in the last podcast as well, when I was talking about the grand final, the FIFA corruption, and I was questioned, and Fatty got angry again.
What about this time? I don't recall that. I need to go back and listen.
The 1986 World Cup team, Argentina was smashed by the press before they left for the tournament.
Yeah.
So they had little hope. They just qualified the last minute against Peru, I think it was. They had no hope. They were getting smashed by the media. There was zero chance. They were insulted. They came back champions. So 1990, on paper, is probably one of the worst teams Argentina's ever held in a World Cup.
Yeah.
They made it to the World Cup final.
Yeah.
So that him as a figure, as a personality, as a leader, as a captain, that speaks highly of him as well.
Yeah, 100%. Like he's a leader like very few are in football's history, right? Like I think there's 3 or 4 captains or leaders in football that would compare to him.
Absolutely.
It's raw talent as well. I mean, in the documentary, he talks about playing Sundays in Serie A. The Sunday game is finished. He'll go on a bender until Wednesday.
Wow.
Drugs, women, alcohol, no sleep. It's non-stop partying from Sunday to Wednesday.
Rockstar lifestyle.
On Wednesday, he'll start detoxing. So you start on the treadmill, start training, start eating right, start drinking water, whatever, to play again on Sunday. And he'll do that. That was one of the last seasons. He won best player, top goal scorer of the league, best player of the league, and they won the Serie A.
Well, hey, if the formula works, why change it?
It defies science. It defies
But
everything.
he did it, and he enjoyed his career. So he did it for different reasons than what players do it now. Nowadays, it's all
true.
money motivated. Then he did it for pleasure, for what he wanted to get out of it. He did it. He enjoyed his football, and clearly it worked.
100%. Like he obviously for whatever he needed to do to burn off the pressure that during the game. Whatever he did, it did work for several years.
Johnny, are you endorsing youngsters now to go on benders and women and all this
Look,
to achieve Maradona status?
like you said, if the formula works,
Yeah, don't tinker with it.
if I was to do it, I wouldn't last the game. I think we're going to agree on this question I'm going to ask, but what do you think is Maradona's biggest moment or match?
Biggest moment
Or match?
in terms of his career, or in terms of what stands out for us personally?
Career. Like footballing.
It'd have to be the World Cup.
Any match in particular?
I don't.
It would have to be England.
Has to be England.
Was it 2-1?
2-1.
2-1.
His
Hand of God.
The hand of God and the goal of the century.
Yeah.
The goal of the century, 100%. Definitely. Hand of God is obviously
But it's
for what
al-
it is, but
It's also what that match meant as well.
Yeah.
yeah, especially
It
for
was 4 years.
Argentinians.
It was 4 years after the war. It was
Yeah.
just there's a lot of emotions behind it. To come out and just beat England the way he did.
Yeah, that goal of the century is... I mean, a lot of people talk about the hand of God. I think it overshadows a little bit that goal of the century, and it shouldn't, because that goal was ridiculous. I saw it a week ago, maybe, and it popped up somewhere, and I had another watch of it.
YouTube algorithms.
Unbelievable.
But that's the thing about what I've always heard when it comes to the hand of God and then the goal of the century is they kind of go hand in hand because both really display both sides of his personality.
Yeah.
That trickery, that intelligence, that cheekiness. I mean, I think if the hand of God overshadows it, to me, I don't think of it as a negative because I think that, like we've talked about before, you do what it takes to win, don't you? It's a bit of a situation. It's an instinct, and it displayed that, what made him so unique. That intelligence, that trickery, that cheekiness. And then the second one was just, that's just football at its best,
That's
right?
a good point. That's a good point.
In a recent interview, they asked him, "What do you want for your 60th birthday?" He said, "To score another goal against the English with my hand, but this time with my right hand."
Oh, there you go. His spirit's alive and well.
It's funny because you speak to every single football fan now, and I don't know anyone who hates Maradona or who dislike him. But back in the 80s, he had a lot of enemies.
Yeah.
Enemies? What do you mean by enemies?
He was very disliked.
Yeah,
Really?
because that's the price you pay for fame and for being the best. When you're the best, everyone wants to knock you down. Now, in hindsight, everyone's like, yeah, he was the best.
Like in Italy, everyone hated him except for Napoli fans.
Because he was the best.
Yeah,
it.
like well,
It's as simple as that.
yeah, like what? Who? Like why else? Though,
It's
John?
like now
was it-
why people hate Ronaldo more than they hate Messi, or vice versa.
Yeah, because
the
being
two
on
best,
top, you know,
yeah,
you
the two
do
best
it.
players, they've been there for too long. Oh, but why are they always winning Ballon d'Or? Because they're the two best players.
You mentioned something about if the formula works, keep going with it. Do you think his personality and the way he was, how outspoken he was, how he was always against the authority? I mean, he had massive run-ins with FIFA, massive. He, for so many years, the last couple of years, he wanted to leave Napoli, and the president didn't let him because of his contract and stuff. So he was very outspoken against his president as well. Things like that. Do you think that personality helped him become the player that he was?
It has to have played a part, because if you change any of that, or he conformed, or he was, obedient, quote unquote, for lack of a better term, to all these, hierarchies that he worked under, I think it would have made him a different person. I think he is what he is because of his personality, and he's achieved that status, and why it's elevated him above other players, and he stands out more. Because he don't, like you said, he's a champion of the people, or he goes against the grain. He does it his own way. He did the party lifestyle, but he still achieved everything he could possibly achieve as a player, nationally and for your club. So
It also cost him his footballing career.
it did cost him his footballing career, but I think he went out how he wanted to. It was on his terms, in terms of, I'll do it my way. Yeah, it ended up costing him. Okay, he got done and he got banned and whatever, but he still won the World Cups. He still won everything he could win with a club. What else was he supposed to do?
In 1990, only one, when he got done in Italy and he got kicked out of the country or whatever, the authorities knew for a long time what he was doing. But after the 1990 World Cup and how much he was clashing with the authorities, that's what cost him.
Yeah.
94 World Cup,
I remember 94.
he was fighting with the president of FIFA,
Yeah.
Avalanche at the time. Kept being very outspoken against him. They targeted him.
Yeah.
Like,
I remember that game specifically. 94.
Nigeria.
Yeah, I remember that game
So
clearly.
it did cost him a fair few things as well.
Yeah, but what would he have done? Do you think they would have? Let's assume he wasn't targeted in '94. Do you think Argentina would have went on and won it? I don't think so.
I think that they're a high chance.
Nah, I don't agree.
Look, it's hypothetical, so we'll never know
Yeah.
the real answer.
Look, it really is always a double-edged sword, because, like Fatty said, if he wasn't the person he was, does he achieve some of those achievements in the 80s? So,
Does he have that cult status about him? is the question.
and like, yeah, like you gotta think about the idea that, so the '86 national team for Argentina, Johnny. Look, where would you rank that squad in terms of ability? Would you consider, if you take Maradona out of it, that squad's not winning the World Cup? Yeah, like you said before, they didn't really, they just scrapped into qualifiers. It was Maradona's personality that, for whatever reason, he was able to get the best out of his teammates. That was for Napoli and for Argentina, and I think that's one of the reasons why he's so beloved, is because he was always with, his biggest achievements came with an underdog team. So would he even achieve that high? I mean,
Well, in the history of Napoli, they won only 2 Serie A's and only one time the UEFA Cup, and that was under Maradona.
that's it. So like, what
So nothing. Sorry, they've won nothing before and nothing since.
Yeah,
That's massive. I don't know of any other players who had such a high influence in a club.
100%. He, like, it's safe to say he transformed that club the moment he got off the plane and set foot in Italy. Like, he changed the whole thing,
Not the club, the city.
the whole city, Naples.
You speak to anyone in Naples, and he's a god.
Wow, yeah, fair enough.
He's before anyone ever that lived in that city.
Who do you know in Naples?
Me, Antonio, Giuliani.
I suppose they're all pizzeria, mate.
Yeah, they're all-
No. So like, no, but like, and you would have to think, like, with that kind of love and admiration, there would have come a lot of like negative consequences to that. And I believe he was really, tied up with a bit of the the mafia over in Napoli.
Not by choice.
Yeah, not really by choice, but like,
I mean, they were.
Come on, there would have been some sort of personal choice there in terms of.
there would. But how much?
A bit of a.
What was that noise there, Fatty?
I was just clearing my nose.
How much like responsibility do you put on a young kid coming from Argentina, went to Barcelona, all that kind of stuff, coming into Napoli like that? It's one of those things where you're on the roller coaster and you're just letting it go, aren't you?
Well, and that's what I'm talking about when it comes to ego. In one of his books, that that talks about his life.
Yep.
He said that at one point he got a knock on the door. He went downstairs. There's a brand new Ferrari waiting for him. Brand new, like it hasn't even come. It wasn't come out in the market.
Yeah.
New leather. There's all leather. There's whatever.
What are you going to do?
He sat in there, and he said, "Oh, it's automatic. No, I don't like this. I like manual cars." He gave it back and went back upstairs.
Wow.
Because it wasn't 2 years later. Years later, you look back and you reflect and you think, "Fuck, I came from nothing.
Yeah.
I came from a place where my parents wouldn't eat at night, so we would be able to eat. And now I'm here. I am giving back a Ferrari because it wasn't manual; it was automatic.
Wow.
So it's that.
That's, yeah.
What a real man drives a stick. Not a motor. That's what I got from that story.
Love it. No. Like, there it is, eh? Like, there was so many, hands reaching out for him, and you'd probably feel a little compelled to indulge the city, the people, and even the mafia at times, eh?
2010 World Cup. He was the coach of Argentina.
Okay.
He's
I
not
remember that.
He's not a coach.
No.
He's not, like, he must have figure as a motivator, but he's not a coach.
You don't think like he would have provided a lot?
What made them think to do that? Like, what was the logic? What was the reasoning behind that?
I wish I had an answer. I think it was more like I don't
It's
know
just,
if there
it's
was.
just like Maradona.
Just
Yes,
publicity?
Maradona is going to be
Look,
here.
I hate to think it, but with the previous president that was in charge before, he's involved in the FIFA gate. So he died, so he got away with it. But he was very close to Sepp Blatter. He was second in charge of FIFA.
Yeah.
Very corrupted. Once Maradona became coach, he sold X amount of friendlies to this private company, and every stadium sold out straight away.
Wow.
So I don't know if there's something
Big
behind
money.
that.
Yeah.
I don't know, what the actual story is behind it, but yeah, he's definitely not a coach.
But let me ask another question. Considering, the Argentinian FA and all the politics surrounding player selections, especially when they're coming up to World Cups, did they put Maradona in it just because of the figure that he was and he didn't have any input in terms of team selection, or we would have had some input, or the team would have already been selected for him?
No, he had a lot of input.
Don't you think
He to the point where, listen to this. He took a player to the World Cup as part of the squad because he had a dream that in his dream he won the World Cup and he was on the field celebrating, and he saw this player with him on the field. I think his name was Garcia or something. He's a defender. He didn't play a minute in the whole World Cup, but he took him to the 2010 World Cup.
That is the best.
Because he had in his dream he saw this player
Was it
there as he
epiphany?
was celebrating. So he took him as part of the squad. Didn't
World
play a
Cup.
minute in the whole World Cup.
Woke up in the middle of the night. I must have this player. What was his
That's
name?
the
Get on
kind
the
of
phone.
player he was. Like that's the kind of person he is.
Yeah.
It's a tough thing. Like, I mean, I don't think any of us disagree that he wasn't there for the publicity. He wasn't a figurehead. Like, my question is, how much blame, or how much do you criticize that decision? We've known national team coaches who have been there more for their status and for their ability as motivators, rather than real tactical masterminds. So, how much, Johnny, did you and do you now criticize that decision?
Look, you would have liked a proper coach to be there, but in regards to the results, he still made it to the quarterfinals. He got smashed. We got smashed by Germany 4-0 that quarter. But to World Cup before that, you had Bielsa, who's a highly regarded coach, and got knocked out in the group stage.
Yeah.
So he's done better than
Yeah.
than a lot of other coaches. I mean, yeah. So looking at results alone, it wasn't the worst,
Yeah.
but it was a strong team back then as well.
Well, yeah, it was. I
Do you
mean,
think it was partly as well that they wanted it to be, he wins it as a player, wins it as a coach?
Yeah, and
Bit of that.
you know what? And in hindsight, it's probably the last time he was sane enough to do anything like that.
Wow.
After that, he became very unhealthy brain-wise.
yeah, that was really unfortunate. I remember when he was picked as coach, there was a lot of fanfare about it, a lot of hype about him being the coach of Argentina.
He was overweight then, wasn't he? I remember him with the beard and the suit.
When was he not?
No, 2018 he wasn't. He looked a bit better. Unless it was the beard. I don't know, that was gone. Maybe it looked different.
He's a bit... But, yeah, you can't question the figure, like you said before, worldwide.
Yeah.
You speak to people in the Arabic countries, you speak to people, even in Brazil, they love him. You speak to anyone from around the world.
Yeah. Non-football people will always, if you said Name me one, the most famous football player that you know. It's
Yeah.
always Maradona, without a doubt, or Pele.
What the last few years as well, all these kids started popping up out of nowhere from affairs he had, and
Wow, yeah.
Oh, really?
so his whole life,
I haven't seen the doco yet.
he was the two daughters. He was married, had the two daughters, and it's not till recently, when I'm saying recently, I mean maybe last 10, 15 years, that he had a kid in Italy in the 80s, a couple of months difference with his oldest daughter. Another daughter's come out of mid 90s or early 90s as well. He's got another kid now with someone else, like a 3-year-old or 4-year-old.
Now, 3-year-old.
Yeah.
Wow. But you know what? It makes sense. I mean, you live in that party lifestyle. These things are bound to happen. It's not outside the realm of possibility. Like it's very realistic.
No, it's not.
He's gone on benders for 3-4 days. You know, drugs, alcohol, women.
And that's why some people don't like him, because he's not the ideal family man. And
Yeah.
Yeah, I get that. I understand, but
Yeah,
he's a character. That's just what it is.
And people are flawed, and I don't think it's up to us to judge how he lived his life from a moral point of view. We're a football podcast. We want to admire his accomplishments, not necessarily judge him for this, that, or the other.
No, judge him on his moral standing.
he's very political as well, like very close to Fidel Castro.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, two left.
Yeah.
Well, as Chilavert once said, he's a communist living in Dubai in a castle. So when he was living in Dubai for a long time, and he's very outspoken against the Americans, and he's very outspoken against the right in any government.
He's entitled to. He made himself for himself.
But he's a very outspoken left living in Dubai with a lot of money. So that was the whole message. But no, he's like I said, outspoken, that's for sure. You can't question him. I don't know. To me, he's number one.
Yeah. I mean,
Does anyone come close? Does anyone come close to be such an idol?
No.
That he is to the Napoli, the city.
compared to
Maradona and Napoli. Is there any other connection between player and city that comes close?
I would say Totti.
Totti and Roma.
Yeah.
I think that's the closest person in football, Fatty. I totally agree.
I think it's very hard to find someone else because everyone else has sort of... I mean, look, Totti's longevity at Roma would give him that sort of status.
I mean, you think Roma and you think Totti.
Yeah.
100%. You don't think anybody else.
You think Napoli, you think Maradona.
Yeah.
That's it.
No,
yeah.
totally.
There's no other players that do that because everyone else has moved around. Yeah, they've made names at certain clubs, but, you know, they've still followed the money trail.
Yeah, but Maradona himself played for like 5 or 6 clubs.
Yeah, but his achievements, the achievements that we spoke about at Napoli and how they came about and nothing before and nothing after, that on its own, it deserves a lot of credit. That's massive.
Yeah,
That's
I agree. And I think that like some of the players that we could possibly compare, the thing is that like Totti was that Ballon d'Or level player. He was the best of the best. I don't know if he was ever considered the best player in the world at any given time, but he was there or whereabouts for a large part of his career. And he was always with Roma. Real Madrid came calling after him many times. He refused them because for his love of that club. And he's achieved something where, like, you know, how many Serie A's have Roma ever won?
Just 2 or 3?
2, yeah. And I don't think they've won one since Totti. So there are similarities from a club standpoint, as well as being elite players, playing in similar positions, and being so connected with their cities.
Yeah, I agree.
A couple other players, I consider, I guess, but just more for the sake of like trying to find comparisons. I know the people in Florence loved Baggio when he was playing there. Fatty, like in the late '80s, he was truly adored. Yeah. But as we all know, his career took it to a point where he moved away from Florence, and therefore it's not the same as a Maradona or certainly not as Totti.
I think Fiorentina, and the only name that comes to mind is Batistuta.
Well, see, and that's another one there that had such a equal or perhaps even greater impact than Baggio in Florence, isn't it?
Well, because when Fiorentina went down to second division, he stayed around.
Yeah. And I think the people of Florence will never forget that, and they love Batistuta there.
And when you're talking about Roma winning the Serie A, he was there as well.
Well, that's right. Yeah, like, you know, and I think that like him leaving Fiorentina, I don't think anyone would criticize that decision. But then I think it does change that legacy somewhat compared to Totti or Maradona and shit.
Yeah.
Eh?
Yeah.
No,
Look, the only one that comes close, it's a little bit different, but you were talking about Newcastle and Shearer.
Yeah, look, it does come close in terms of a cult figure sort of thing, a leader, someone that, you know, if you asked any Geordie fan and said who would you be your greatest ever player for your club, and they'd say Alan Shearer.
unquestionably, right? Like,
I mean, achievement-wise, no. He won the Premier League with Blackburn before he went to Newcastle. So obviously, in that sense, he achieved something at Blackburn. But he's not remembered at Blackburn.
No.
His career really took off, and he became the player he became, and the name that he was, and he became the one of the top goal scorers in Premier League history at Newcastle.
Or you think Newcastle, like you think Shearer, you think Newcastle.
Yeah. You don't think Shearer anything else. You don't think Blackburn, even though he won the Premier League there, as I said. But you see him in the black and white stripes.
Yeah, no, absolutely. He was best years ahead for him were in Newcastle, and I think he's synonymous with that city, and people love him there, and it's one of those things. The fact that he didn't get that much success, I mean, how much does success for you, mate, really matter when it comes to that love for the player?
I think it's the loyalty that player shows, that pride in wearing that jersey, how they carry themselves, how they represent that club. That's how people associate with them and why they love them so much, regardless of achievement, because they were realistic as well. They weren't expecting to win the Premier League. I mean, aside from what season was it with Keegan when they blew the title, aside from that, they didn't really have an opportunity. Like, they had a couple of seasons where they were doing well, and Shearer was at his peak. They finished top 4. They played Champions League a couple of times.
Yeah.
Other than that, no, they didn't. They got relegated.
Yeah.
Bounced back up, but not really a club that I would say that would have been challenging. They didn't have the funding and all that sort of shit.
Yeah, exactly.
But
the loyalty you displayed, and when you have a player of that talent, that someone like Man United, Arsenal, Liverpool would have loved to have had. Yeah. When he's playing for your club,
he had plenty of offers.
United
wanted him. United wanted him, and he didn't go. United wanted him, and he didn't go.
Could you imagine Alan Shearer and Man United? That would have been crazy different.
Yeah, in the late 90s there, and early 2000s. Yeah, he would have done great there.
I think there's someone that's leading towards a Shearer Newcastle connection. I mean, still early days, but Vardy and Leicester.
Very similar, a lot of similarities. The English connection there. Obviously, a striker. After
Leicester won the Premier League, Arsenal offered big money to Vardy. He said no instead of Leicester. Now I don't know how much money Leicester came up with, but still stayed at Leicester.
I think there would have been some sort of appreciation there that you won it. Yeah, you won it fair and square. You didn't win it, with a club that was throwing around stupid money or had big players. So there was that camaraderie there, and you kind of want to stay around,
100%.
We've done that when we play as well. You win with your team, and you don't think, okay, I'm going to go to a better team now. You want to stay around with your mates, and it was
but in saying that, the team itself was getting torn apart with Kante, with Mahrez.
A lot of people came around and started picking him up, but still.
But it's like
maybe he stayed true to that belief.
For a player like Jamie Vardy, he didn't really become a top striker until a few years later into his career. It wasn't exactly an 18, 19-year-old super prospect, right?
That's right.
So for a player like him, who then all of a sudden found himself in the spotlight, winning a Premier League, he's probably like what you said before. It's like, that's enough for me. Yeah. Now I'm comfortable. I'm making money. I'm doing really well for Leicester. I have a connection with the fans that no one could ever replace.
Yeah.
Why not stay?
Yeah, he deserves credit for that. Absolutely. Deserves credit. It would have been easier to move. Same as Alan Shearer. Deserves credit for that.
The only difference I have with Alan Shearer and Jamie Vardy, would you say Alan Shearer for a large part of the 90s was the best striker in the Premier League, right? Yeah, I don't
But you
think Jamie
know
Vardy's ever reached that level.
Oh, you know what? He's having a great year now.
Yeah,
And to think of it, when they won the Premier League, it's been 5 years. He's still been fairly consistent. He's
Yeah,
been there
true.
or thereabouts.
Yeah,
so
He won top goal scorer in the last Premier League.
yeah, you've got
No,
you've
fair
got to
enough.
give him.
Wow,
So
yeah,
he's been up the top there. He's been a quiet achiever.
yeah, really.
People
That's
don't-
really.
He hasn't done it for England.
Yeah,
But then again, none of these English players have done it for England. They've always struggled.
No, fair enough, man. Like that's a really good point. When you have a guy who's a top scorer in the league, to not convince him to leave, like from other clubs' point of view,
Yeah.
it's quite an interesting thing, you know. And it's not like that some of the top clubs, like a Man United, couldn't do with a veteran top level goal scorer. So it's really raises my respect level for
Yeah.
a player like that, eh?
Funny thing I forgot to say about Shearer. He retired a hero, and then he came back as coach and got him relegated. Really, it wasn't his fault because he came in to take after. I forgot who it was. There was
Wasn't Rafa Benitez was later.
no, it wasn't Benitez. It was someone else. Maybe it was. What's his name? I forget.
I don't know.
I
Big
forget.
Sam.
No, it wasn't. Yeah, Allardyce had a stint there.
Yeah.
Got it, his name's on the tip of my tongue. I'll remember him. He came in to sort of clean up the mess, and they were struggling, but they ended up getting relegated anyway. So it was a bit of a Jekyll and Hyde sort of thing. It was a bit of a.
They were hoping that him
He would
as
save
a,
him, yeah, that's
as a
right.
you know,
Same thing with
cult,
the
cult
Maradona.
status. Yeah, it was the same.
Cult hero. He's the hero.
Yeah.
But you can't do it all, you know.
That's it.
Staying in England, most people would think. I don't know. Like for me, for example, I think Arsenal. I think Henry. I think Henry, and I think Arsenal. Yes, he went to Barcelona. Yeah, he went to New York.
Yep.
But I mean, don't get me wrong. It's not the same as Maradona and Napoli, Totti and Roma. But Henry and Arsenal to me are.
I'll jump in on this one. Henry, to this day, his love is Arsenal. He went to Barcelona. He achieved at Barcelona. He won a Champions League at Barcelona. He won La Liga at Barcelona. He went to New York. Whatever he did there, ended his career there. That's fine. But he still is an Arsenal fan. Everything to do with Arsenal. So the best years of his career were at Arsenal. His peak, his prime was at Arsenal. It wasn't at Barcelona. Barcelona, they won that Champions League. Look at the team that they had.
Yeah.
So his prime, his peak was at Arsenal.
That's him. I'm talking about the fans.
Yeah. And that's why Arsenal fans look at Henry as the hero. Yes, greatest ever goal scorer for the club, but there's still that fondness with him because he is Arsenal through and through. Arsenal through and through. They love him. That's why there's a statue. There's a statue of him outside the Emirates now.
Would you put Henry before Tony Adams?
That's hard. Tony Adams, Mr. Arsenal, they call him. You know, he was there at the start of the revolution when Wenger came in. 97, 98, they did the double. Adams was captain. But the playing style changed, and slowly Adams was too slow for the style that Wenger wanted to.
Slow or drunk?
A little from column A, a little from column B. So he didn't survive that. You know, the quicker players at the back came in to sort of do that. But yeah, if Arsenal fans had to pick, they would always pick Henry first. It's easier to pick a striker and a forward player than a defender. Plus, Henry achieved more with Arsenal than Adams did. He was there through the Invincibles, which is something that's never going to be achieved again in that club. So it goes to Henry. I wouldn't put him in the same realm as Maradona, Totti in terms of what they did in that sort of regard, but it's an honourable mention.
I'd put him very close to Totti though, because definitely
Look,
he was there when Arsenal was at their height, and
he was the catalyst. He was one of the players that's the catalyst,
and Arsenal won more than Roma won with Totti.
And as much as there was quality players around him, you know, you had your Bergkamps, you had your Pires, you had other fringe players that stepped up that were no names but performed. You know, that midfield forward line for Arsenal during that era, the early 2000s, was amazing.
There was Patrick Vieira, Ray Parlour.
Yeah, you had the Vieira, then you had Gilberto come in. There was always someone. You know, then you had your wingers, you had your Lundberg, your Pires, Bergkamp playing behind your Henri. So there was a lot of variation there, but always the catalyst was always Henri. When you had Henri on the team sheet, you knew you had a chance.
It was it's a travesty, and I'll stand by. I can't believe he never won a Ballon d'Or.
Yeah, well, he lost that. He lost that. I sent that in the chat the other day. His stats for that year for Ballon d'Or were ridiculous compared to Nedved.
2003.
I think Nedved's like 3 years.
Yeah.
I'll tell you the stats now because I was actually looking at it the other day.
Yeah, I just think Johnny, like, it's what an insane thing that some of these players don't get crowned best player of the year. When I think of Thierry Henry, it was that great combination of finesse and athleticism.
Yeah.
You know, that clinicalness, the speed, playing as a striker, but then would always be able to drift out wide, take on the last man, play the last man as a goal scorer. Anyway.
I mean, there's heaps of other clubs and players that we can be talking.
Yeah, I mean, I do love keeping the conversation around Totti, Maradona, and Henri. I think Raul does deserve a shout out. He was a youth player. He was synonymous with the club. The fans loved him.
They do, years. But it's not the one. Like, yes, you think Raul, you think Real Madrid.
Yeah,
but then you got Cristiano, you got Di Stefano, you got other Casillas, you got other players.
The number. Yeah,
you got other players that come close and can come in the argument. Whereas Maradona's on a league of his own. Totti's by himself.
Yeah. And I think that
Fiorentina, yes, you mentioned Baggio, but I think Batistuta's a step above and no one comes close to him.
Oh, mate, look, like I said, I think...
But it's between them two.
It would be really interesting to have that conversation. I would love to get some Fiorentina fans to find out what they think. Might go start trolling the internet, getting conversations going.
You got others. You got Boca and Riquelme.
True. But I think what you're saying is that what we have in common there, with all these players, what these players have in common, is that the clubs that they're all playing for are not the biggest elite clubs. I think it's hard to have clubs like Real Madrid or Barcelona and be synonymous with just one player. Because for every person that says Messi for Barcelona, someone else is going to say Cruyff. Someone else is going to say Ronaldinho, right? And the same with Real Madrid. So I think it's like those mid clubs that were able to rise up to the top based on a couple of those players.
Like you got Liverpool, you got Gerrard, you got Kenny Dalglish, you got other players.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it's a great point. And it makes it very difficult. I think one thing to discuss, and it's just until Paddy gets those stats, I just want to ask you. So, Man United, mate, what would you say? Keane.
No,
Beckham, Giggs,
another
Scholes.
club that doesn't have one. Because I think Man United, and I think Cantona, for example.
Wow, yeah, fair enough.
Then you do like your Gary Nevilles, you do have your Roy Keanes, your Scholes, your...
Man United, definitely, I would say, for me, would have to be Keane or Scholes.
But there's not one player that stands out and that changed the city or... Man United as a club.
As a
United for that period, for that era of 8 to 10 years... where they were dominating the English Premier League, you couldn't pick one player. That was a catalyst. It was a team. You know what? If you had to pick, you'd pick Sir Alex Ferguson. That's who you'd pick.
Yeah, spot on.
I wouldn't pick a player. I'd pick the coach.
That's a good way of looking at it.
So it was 2003 where he finished behind Nedved in Ballon d'Or. His stats were crazy that year. So here they're saying 24 goals and 20 assists from 37 games.
In that's just in Premier League, right?
Yeah.
So
I think he was the first ever player to score 20 to get 20 goals, 20 assists in a league.
Yeah, to do it, he did it for 2 years. He scored. Okay, so here it is.
Because Messi did it not long ago.
Messi did it. Was it just this past season or the season before? He did it. I know Jadon Sancho's done it in Bundesliga, which everyone's making a big deal about. And, hopefully this guy becomes as good as what everyone hopes, but you never know. But Thierry Henry was the first to do it. And for a striker who's known for that athleticism, for that speed, for being a goal scorer, to get 20 assists, that's quite an achievement. He had a lot more to his game than I think people tend to remember.
Can I end on one player, Fatty?
Are we ending already, guys?
Tell me.
Can I end on this player? And so we spoke about Maradona, obviously, so having such an impact. If I talk to you about Letizia,
Southampton legend Matthew Letizia.
but that goes back to what Akra was saying about these smaller clubs, mid to smaller clubs, are the ones that you can have the one idol.
Well, look, there's that nostalgic feel about it. Letitia was in the early 90s when the Premier League first became the Premier League, and it changed from the English First Division, and it became what it is today. At the Dell, a very small ground, before Southampton moved to their big stadium, fans loved him, and they still would speak fondly of him today.
Mm-hmm.
He scored some magical goals. This guy was not your typical
Footballer.
British striker, right? Very, very skillful. A lot of goals where he would beat players, and he looked so tall and cumbersome and clumsy, but skill. He had skill about him, and a lot of the 90s, highlight reels where you'd look at the greatest goals from that Premier League season, a lot of Letitia goals. Always in there.
So just to finish up, Maradona, the GOAT?
Absolutely. For me.
Yeah, like I'm happy to leave it off as that, eh?
Excellent.
He doesn't sound convinced.
No, absolutely.
I'm happy to leave it as that A. There was no full stop. It wasn't assertive.
All right.
Love it.
So we'll finish on that vote before overnight votes come out of nowhere. And mysterious votes come and change the decision.
Then all of a sudden Pele will be number one tomorrow.
Oh, we found these male votes come here. Thanks, guys, once again. Like I said, we're back. Hopefully we don't get a break next week.
No. We should be right, eh? And guys, just remember to like and comment. Let us know if Messi or Maradona is the GOAT. What's your opinion?
Adasi, see you next week.
Feel free to disagree with us, guys. Leave a comment.
And
like
girls.
I said. Sorry, guys. But guys is plural for everyone.
No, Johnny. No, Johnny. No,
Guys and girls, Johnny.
You're going to offend Ak now.
Okay.
Yeah, let's not try to cancel.
To all of
ourselves.
humanity, please feel free to leave a comment. Disagree with us.
Anyone out there.
Ask questions. Throw topics.
What if you don't identify as a human?
Goodbye.